You made it. You're superior as always. You always were at the top, Alia. No, your talent was far beyond mine. I just diligently did as I was told. And you didn't. That was the only difference. No matter how capable you are, the skill is nothing if not used properly. Alia understood that, but you didn't. First of all, a nation for only Reploids won't work. Both Reploids and humans are flawed. We can't survive without mutual aid. I believe you know the best. Will humans rescue this damaged planet? No. They take refuge under the ground and are helpless. Only the Reploids can do the work. Did the Reploids cause this disaster? They're the ones, aren't they, X? Don't let him bait you, X. I'm alright, Cygnus. I'll admit that Reploids are flawed and some Reploids become Mavericks. That's why I wasn't properly evaluated. But I feel confident in my recent creations. Oh, I'll tell you one little thing. I didn't get here on my ability alone. But I got something. A golden opportunity. Guess what I picked up? I thought it was just rubbish. At first. It was a piece of Zero. I obtained Zero's DNA. I felt as if I'd stepped in the sanctuary, and the DNA was just fabulous. It was a piece of cake to create Hymax in the Nightmare. I couldn't contain my excitement. I can now create perfect and the strongest Reploids. But there's no limit to things. Look at you! Don't you know? Sure, Zero's DNA has great power. But it decreases if used the wrong way. Time to teach you a lesson, Gate. You used Zero to cause Reploids pain. All for your own ego. I won't forgive you! Good. I've been waiting to destroy you. Come on, X! And that's the cutscene that plays if you reach the end of Gate 1 with X. And almost immediately, after I take a quick look at my parts, we're going to be heading into Gate 2. I'm going in as X, and I'd honestly recommend you replace the weapon refill limited item I have with the HP one, because you might remember King 2 from Megaman and Base and how long and annoying it was. Meet what is basically the X equivalent to it, because this is a long stage. We are here for the entire part. And I'm bringing in Blade Armor Zero. I've done that a lot. Blade Armor X purely because it's the best of the armors I have, at least. Because it's honestly, it and Falcon Armor are about equal. I just prefer the air dash of the Blade Armor because, you know, distance-wise. Although, theoretically, not even theoretically, completely, the best armor in the game is still Ultimate Armor. It's just the fact that I'm not getting that because that required a cheat code. And whereas Black Armor Zero just makes the game a little bit easier for you and doesn't completely break the game. Heck, look at how many times I've died as Black Armor Zero. Ultimate Armor X just completely breaks the experience of the game. Now, this is the main reason you really want to bring Blade Armor X into this stage. You can make shortcuts in this part of the stage. I fail here at this first shortcut and go for the second one instead, though. The main thing I'm doing wrong is timing, I will openly admit, because I should go when it's much farther down. But I blame the fact that this is probably the stage in the game I've played the least. Because I'll admit, I've actually put a good amount of time to X6 over my lifetime. Between the main 8 Mavericks basically. Main 8 stages and Gate 1 and Gate 3, I put at least 4 or 5 playthroughs in. Gate 2, I've only played twice, this included. Why? I despise this stage and everything in it. I have done test playthroughs of the boss fights in it, but I've had ways around fighting them multiple times. Also, one thing I should mention, in between stages, I do refill my sub-tanks. In terms of where I do that, the best location to fill your sub-tanks is in Rainy Turtloid stage. I think it's the 3rd acid rain section over all the water. There are a bunch of energy capsules over that towards the end of that section that's just really good for filling your sub-tanks. You can get over half a sub-tank per visit. Maybe 3/4, which is just really good for that. Weapons tank-wise, well, I never used the weapons tank in this game, so I don't really have a location for that. Just fighting enough enemies should generally give you it. The totems, honestly, are probably at their most annoying in this stage compared to Ground Scarabage's stage, because the environment is just not in your favor in terms of how to fight them, because you're either constantly over a hole you can fall into and have to backtrack a little bit, or there's just a wall that will do damage to you if you touch it. Because, well, not wall, ceiling, because it doesn't crush you, thankfully. And I openly admit, we're actually coming up on my first game over in the game. I cut it out, but I do get a game over in this stage because, obviously, as you can tell, I'm running low on the lives I have gotten from the Reploids. Part of me wishes X6 was one of those games that showed only 9 lives in the life counter, but allowed you to have as many as you've collected. Because, oh man, having like 120-something lives would be so helpful in this game. We're actually coming up on what's probably the worst part of platforming in the stage here. Because we had to use these platforms, which are, actually, now I think about it, they're right out of X2 as well, like the music. That is a surprisingly tricky to make jump with the blade armor I just did there. When you're wall clinging, you don't want to have jumper or speedster because you will go into the spikes. So it's just best to have either really good timing as a double jump with 0 or just blade armor X. Either way, time for the first of 2 boss fights here in Gate 2. And it's, actually no, they're both pretty horrible fights, honestly. It's High Max once again. Data-wise, I've surpassed you. There's no chance for me to lose. Are you still babbling about things like that? I just have to win. High Max has seen an upgrade in that he now has a shield. That shield has its own HP bar, and it'll do massive damage to you as well as High Max himself. The way you dodge this attack, by the way, you just have to dodge fast enough. The thing is, it's not a one-and-done shield. You can destroy it with enough shots and you have to damage him, but he spawns the thing 5 times without fail. And this is a very long and tedious fight. I think it took me like 7 minutes on its own, and to mitigate that, I died the first time, I'm cutting to the successful take where I destroy the shield the first time, and then I'm cutting to the take where I've already destroyed all 5 shields, because this takes forever. Attack-wise, he's not even that different than he was back in the alternate area. The shield move is the only new one he has at the moment. He can still do the dive, he can still do both the energy ball attacks. It's honestly not a very different fight. However, this fight just sucks. It is easier as 0, I will admit that, because the special weapons that we're about to do can do so much more damage. By the way, once he's reached all 5 shields destroyed, he enters this phase where he's just constantly firing this attack at you. Ray Arrow is the best weapon to use against him. Just spam it like this and try to avoid as many hits as you can. I'm very bad at dodging these projectiles because my dashes are inconsistent, but that's just me. As 0, you could just use the Blazing X ability and the Z-Buster to do a crap load of damage to him really quickly. However, you want to play this stage as X because it makes the second boss fight so much easier on your soul. It's still annoying no matter what, but it's easier than it would be as 0. Also, I've changed the part setup I've had. I now have the shock buffer on, which decreases damage taken by half. But yeah, High Max, very annoying fight. I do not like it. It takes too long, and good lord, his damage output is ridiculous. Keep in mind, I am taking what's basically 25% damage, if I recall. I think that's what shock buffer does. It's been a while. I don't usually remember the pure descriptions of all the items. Either way, High Max is down, but as I've said, Gate 2 is only about halfway over. And what happens next depends on what character you're playing as. This hallway is the same no matter what. But towards the end of this hallway, we're going to encounter one of the usual blue gems that lead into an alternate pathway. And where you're led to there depends on the character you're playing as. And I'll tell you for a fact, the gimmick is borrowed from one of 2 stages. If you're playing as 0, you're basically playing through the Crusher sequence from Metal Shark Player stage again. Different stage layout, but same basic gimmick. I forget if it's the one that has the conveyor belt. It's been a while since I did this stage as 0. As X, we're going to be into a bit of a combination of Commander Yammark's bottomless pit area design and the gimmick of Rainy Turtleoid. which, well, this is the easier of the two as it is, honestly, because the platforming with Blade Armor X is not too bad. There are some really annoying sequences, though, that I'll get into in terms of design, but for right now, we're just going to be dodging some purple robots. Thankfully, I can just clip through them with damage frame and with invincibility frames. Oh, that's the thing. The purple guys actually have a missile attack, but in Radiant Turtloid stage, they basically never get to show it off because you're always within a good proximity to them. And it begins. As usual, we still have to destroy the bits in order to progress because there's still a machine causing the acid rain at the end of each individual sequence. There's still going to be the platforms there, the machines there to heal you, but I think in this case they're almost all one time only. The thing is, some of the bits we have to destroy are going to be in very awkward positions, and I mean very awkward positions. There's one coming up that you need to wall jump to get up to, however, wall jumping next to it causes you to be damaged. It should be coming up within a minute. The bits also can take a bit to kill. It's usually one charge shot and 2 shots. However, you can also just go the long and tedious route of just doing every individual shot. Zero would have the easier time in this section if he had the chance to play it, but he doesn't. But, you know, I think that's kind of clever, playing to each other's weaknesses, honestly. They do, thankfully, give you more than one capsule, but they all break after one use. So they're at least a bit friendlier with that. It's basically just an evolution of difficulty, honestly. Neither of these sections are too bad, though, in terms of design. Okay, here it is. You cannot reach this thing without taking damage. That's dumb. Make this thing a little wider, or have it in towards one wall to begin with so that you can just avoid damage in general. Because forcing a player to take damage is never a smart gameplay decision, people. Unless it's a storyline sequence where you're either going to survive with 1 or 0 HP, may the case be, or it's a case where you shouldn't, what's the word? Actually, no, I already basically described it how it should be. Never mind. That's the end of that sentence. Either way, this is where the two characters would reunite in path. And we're coming up on what is probably my least favorite boss fight in the game for several reasons. Make sure your sub-tank, you have at least one full sub-tank for it. You don't need it, but it's recommended. In here, we got darkness, apparently. Also, I'd like to note, keep an eye on what we just walked on. Who do we have? Oh, Gate, you can fly. Most impressive. All of my Reploids have already been destroyed. I confess that I have nothing to use. Gate, surrender. Or... not now. I have one more experiment I'd like to perform. Stop! You're making a big mistake! But you know that, don't you? Who cares? I've always wanted to analyze you. Come on, X. Well, it's just us versus a scientist. That shouldn't be too bad. What the hell? Also, yeah, look, we walked on nothing to get onto that platform. Either way, welcome to Gate, the worst boss fight in the game. Why? No matter what you try, you cannot damage him. The only thing that can damage him is his own attacks. You need to, whenever he sends out those orbs, you need to shoot them until they break off into 3 projectiles in each direction, which can damage him. I'm not sure if the damage stacks. Each orb has a different color and a different purpose. I'll go into those in a moment. But as for his other attacks, he can just move towards you, which is annoying. Or he can destroy the platforms you're on with this little purple slash attack. Not a very complicated boss fight, but annoying in practice. As Zero, this fight really sucks because you're taking unavoidable chip damage to destroy the orbs. As for what all the orbs do, which, by the way, the orbs themselves are why I decided to play as X, just so I could take them out from a distance when possible. Alright, as for the individual ball attacks, the red one will slow down X and Zero's movement and attack speed, similarly to how Crystal Snail's attack worked in X2, while Gate himself moves at normal speed, which means you're going to be taking unavoidable damage, and if you're wall climbing or jumping when that happens, good luck, you're likely to die. The orange ones will shoot an energy bullet at you from a distance. Blue suck you in like a vacuum, and that can force you off walls and into pits, so watch out for that one. Green will move towards the player if you're away from them. And the purple, which are the most rare my occurrences, but also the easiest to destroy, will generate nightmare viruses. I'm not sure if they'll drop nightmare souls, but that's a way to get, if they can, I guess that's a way to grind them. I don't like this boss fight, though, because it's just really stupid, and he will have times where he just won't do anything. He'll just move left to right towards you endlessly. My record is 2.5 minutes of him just doing that. Thankfully, in these fights, he was pretty aggressive, so I didn't have any big issues. Watch out for the red one, so try to be on the platforms as much as you can, really, honestly, because, yeah, this sucks. And be careful, but I really do not like this fight, because say a player has low HP when they go into this fight and no lives. That means they're likely to get a game over, and that means I think you restart all of Gate 2 in that instance, I think. There might be checkpoints, I honestly forget. And that would suck for you, because that means you'd have no way of damaging this guy. Maybe if they just made it so that a fully charged shot or the Giga attacks could damage him otherwise, that would be fine. Because the Giga attacks charge as you take damage, which would be really good in the Blade Armor's case, because that can do multiple hits. But no, just himself, this fight's dumb, and I don't like it. Really kick-ass theme, though. Gate has good music. In fact, every single one of these stages has great music within it, no matter what. And I like the sprite itself. That's cool. But yeah, this fight can also just take a while, and not a fan. Which, you know, I don't like Gate too much as a villain either. I feel as if he's just a real big case of missed potential. Because someone who's technically only gone Maverick in the fact that they're crazy and can't do anything on his own could be a very interesting villain in that he has either his brains to have him help him through his instances, or his Goonies. And considering he has a past with one of the major characters, with Alia, that could make for very interesting cutscenes, but they just don't do anything with it, and that pisses me off. Either way, Gate's a very annoying boss. There's a cutscene that's different depending on whether or not you beat him as 0 or X. I'm showing both, obviously. Let's get right into probably my least favorite cutscene in the game. Ugh. I lost even though I used Zero's DNA. No, I should have analyzed it more. Was there a fault in the program? But this isn't the end. I don't give up so easily. I prepared for this just in case. I really don't want to use this. I might be destroyed as well, but I brought back the evil Sigma. Why? Oh, please, I did not die. Nor did I need your help. Now get lost. Now it's just you. I'm waiting for you. You're finished. Drat, he's back. But he hasn't been restored perfectly. I've got to go now. X, can you hear me? I found out. That's Isoc's body. It just broke down. Is he dead? This is similar to the Erasure incident. Hey, Extreme 2 reference. There's no reaction. What is this? No, I have to go. I must get Sigma. And now for the Zero cutscene. Ha! Now it's just you. I'm waiting for you. You're finished. I knew you'd return. So, we meet again. Time to end this. Go, Zero. You're the strongest robot. Did somebody call me? Zero! What is it? Nothing. I'll go after Sigma. So Isoc's dead now, and Sigma's alive again. Great. Now, I want to take a break before I end this up to talk about Isoc for a second. There are a few theories as to who he is. The most common of which is that he's Dr. Wily given a Reploid form, which would make sense given the fact that he not only just called Zero a robot, which he is technically, he's more so a robot master than a Reploid, and his obsession in saying he knows Zero inside and out. And that would also make sense given in X5, Sigma somehow meeting Dr. Wily in some way to give him that body. The other theory I've seen is that he's just a Wily fanatic and knows all about him. I'm more of a believer in him being Dr. Wily, which means that whole thing about Surge just being Wily in X2 is, well, not true. It's all over. Overall, it's up to you, and honestly, it's pretty inconsequential because who gives a shit about X6's plot? But overall, that's the end of that other thing. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 9, we're heading back to Sigma once again because Gate decided to bring him back for some dumbass reason. See you guys then.